Hey guys, back here for part 2 of Innocence Lure Jeff the Killer Love Story for part 2, chapter 5. And yeah, let's get it going. What do we do with her? I asked Slendy, who held the unconscious Ariel in his tentacle. He fainted when we traveled to our world, away from her friends. I didn't get why Smile was acting so rebellious against me or anyone besides her, for that matter. It wasn't like him to disobey me. We'll need to make her to. We need to take her to the mansion until she wakes up. We'll figure it out from there, he replied as we made our way through the thick forest. The howl of the wind and wolves clashed together in a war of dominance in the air. The trees leaning over as if they were telling each other secrets. I loved the atmosphere here, much better than the happy-go-lucky bullcrap the other world was full of. The sky was a dark blue and had very few stars that twinkled in the night. Some said that the rest were too scared to stay, so they stopped shining. The moon looked down at us with light that still threatened us, even though the stars fled. So, what's up with the whole thing back there, Jeffy? Ben asked, catching up to me. I flinched mentally at the name. Ben knew fully well I hated it. Stop calling me that, and I saved her, I said, mumbling the last part. Ben dropped his jaw. Excuse me? Saved? I thought Slendy was joking earlier, but really? Jeff, you kill, hence the last part of your name. Since when have you saved? Ben asked, surprised. Look, I could care less about her, but Smile would not get off my ass. Besides, the Mourne tried to rape her and shot Smile. He had it coming, I shot back. And another thing, Ben continued as we walked into the mansion. The mansion from the outside looked as if it was shabby and was about to fall apart. But on the inside it was luxurious, with a Gothic-like class to it. The mansion had clean floors and dusted objects. Something most wouldn't expect. What's up with Smile disobeying you? Oh, anyways, Ben asked. How the heck should I know? I mean, at first I thought it was just because she saved him. But he would have left her afterwards, I replied. Ben shook his head in shock and looked from me to Slendy. Whoa. She saved him? Okay, I'm confused, Ben said as Slendy, him and I came to a halt in front of the cellar door. Wait, Slendy, you plan on putting her down there? As in locking her up? Ben asked, still trying to catch up in his mind. Slendy sighed and turned to me, shoving the girl into my arms. Yes, because we need to figure out what's going on and what to do with her before the rest noticed. Last thing we need is Jack taking one of her kidneys, Stanley replied as he unlocked and opened the door. Well, I understand that, but why chain her up? He questioned. Why does it matter? I said. Why does it matter? I said, holding the girl in my arms. She was actually pretty light. Ben was about to disobey something. Ben suddenly cut him off. Jeff, go down there, chain her up, lock the door behind you, and come to the living room. We need to figure this out as soon as possible, Slendy said. I replied with a sigh and carried her down into the dark cellar, which only had a few candles for light. As I began chaining her up, I looked at her face that was being lit up by the candles that hung on the walls. It would be so easy to kill her, but I couldn't do it. Some voice kept saying, "Don't do it." over and over in my mind, almost to the point where I wanted to rip my hair out. I studied her face, and it seemed so gentle and calm. Why couldn't I kill her? What is she doing to me? Chapter 6. It took me a while to finally get my eyes open. They fluttered open only to be met with more darkness. The only saving grace I had was the candles on the walls that seemed to look medieval-like. At first I thought I was in a dungeon, but as my eyes adjusted I noticed barrels and racks against the wall. I moved a little bit and heard a clanking sound that echoed throughout the room. I fumbled around and felt a chain that was attached to my ankles. To make sure, I was also checked my wrists, and they too had chains. What kind of cellar has chains? I looked around for any sign of a key to unlock the cuffs, but found nothing in the dimly lit room. I lay there for a while before I heard the cellar door open, and light flooded the area. The silhouette of a figure walked down the stairs and made its way towards me. I squinted to get a better look at the figure and realized it was Jeff. He knelt down to meet my gaze and just looked at me. "So, you're finally awake?" he asked. "Yes. Why am I chained up?" I questioned. "Because we need to keep you a secret until we get you back home," he replied, annoyed. "Hey Jeff, what's taking you so long?" a voice called from upstairs. Jeff stiffened and turned to face the doorway. "Be right there. Calm down," he yelled. He turned to face me again, and I noticed something shine from his pockets. I got a close look and realized they were the keys. Before I could say or do anything, he stood up and turned his body to leave. As he did, the keys slid out of his pocket and onto the stone ground with a clank. He instantly stopped and faced me. I moved a little, and the change replicated the same sound. He sighed angrily and got closer to my face once more. "That sound really annoys me," he hissed before standing back up and turning to leave. "Sorry," I mumbled as he got to the front of the stairs. He stopped for a second and began heading up the stairs and slammed the door. As soon as the footsteps faded, I felt the ground until the keys touched the tips of my fingers. I grabbed them and started messing with the cuffs till I felt the keyhole. I unlocked the ones on my wrists first, then my ankles. Standing, I rubbed my wrists and began to walk quietly towards the stairs. Being careful as to not make a sound, I tiptoed up the stairs and placed hand gently on the cold door handle. I stood there silently for a second to see if I could hear any noise near the door. A group of people talking could be heard, but they seemed to be a bit further away. I slowly turned the doorknob and pushed the door open slightly. Peeking through the cracks, I was making sure it was safe. I pushed it open more and popped my head out. I looked down a hallway that was painted a crimson red and had black wood at the top. There were portraits on the walls of things I couldn't quite make out. Little tables that held red roses were placed along the wall. It was really different from what I could expect, or anyone for that matter. I got my body around the door and shut it quietly, looking around for a sign of someone. I crept down the hall and the voices got a bit louder. I pressed my body against the wall and peeked just a bit to see who was all there. "So, Cindy, what's for dinner?" a boy probably a few years older than me asked. I knew instantly from what he looked like that he was Eyeless Jack. "You'll find out what we have when you get it," Slendy sighed. I would have figured he'd want kidneys, but I guess he has different things every once in a while. Some more male voices laughed, and I couldn't tell who was who because of my line of sight. I heard a chair move and footsteps. "I'm gonna go to the bathroom," an unfamiliar voice said. Not really caring who it was at the time, I turned to silently run down the hall. I looked behind me, and a shadow was getting bigger as they made their way towards the doorway. I quickly found a door and opened it. I rushed inside the room and closed the door. I let out a sigh of relief as I backed away from the door. That must have been Maskew or Hoodie, concerning it was Jeff's, Slendy's, Ben's, or Jack's voice. And if they didn't know I was there, I would have been in trouble with Jeff if I got caught. I turned to inspect the room I've chosen, and there wasn't anything in it but a window that revealed a garden and the forest behind it. It appeared to be raining out since the windows had dropped raindrops on them as if they were crying. I walked further into the room and found an archway that led to another room. The only difference was that there was a table in the corner that held wilting black roses and a black piano. The piano was polished to perfection and it had no dust on it. The rest of the room was not so lucky. The dirty beige colored walls were crumbly and somewhat rocky looking. The floor was just concrete, completely different looking from the rest of the house. I walked up to the withering roses and looked at them. They seemed sad, so I picked up the vase and opened the window so that I could stick the vase out in the rain. I stayed like that until I figured they'd gotten enough water. There you go, guys, I said to the flowers as I set them back down on the table. I turned to the piano and sat on the bench that was placed in front of it. I put my fingers accordingly on the piano keys and felt smoothest of them. I knew I shouldn't have, but I wanted to so badly. So I did. My fingers developed minds of their own as I began playing a Phantom of the Opera medley. I loved it. It was a beautiful violin and piano duet, but I played the piano part only. Oh, how beautiful the sound was. That entranced me. Jeff's point of view. We were all sitting there talking about the latest kills, but I didn't dare mention the girl or the man as I explained to the couple I'd killed in the woods. We managed to patch Smile up so no one would suspect a thing. Everything was going according to plan. So, Ben, did you, Hoodie began saying, but I cut him off. Do you hear that? I shushed as everyone went silent. The faint sound of piano playing rang through the mansion as all of us sat listening quietly. I looked at everyone, then Ben and Slendy, who looked at me. I instantly checked my pockets and found that the keys were no longer there. Shit. So that's what the loud clank was. She was pretty clever to cover it up with the chains. Everyone looked at each other, shocked, as they listened to the smoothness of the piano playing. Thanks, guys, for reading so far. Or for listening. This part is done. Now, get ready for part 6. I meant for part 7. Sorry, guys. Okay, continuing. Jeff, tell me you have the keys, Sandy said worriedly. He completely ignored the fact that they were standing right there. Who's playing that? What's going on? Jack asked, eyeing Slendy and me. He knew full well that we were hiding something. Smile barked, wagged his tails, and sprinted out of the room. I followed Smile with my eyes until he left, and then I turned my attention to everyone else. We all looked at each other, tension raising in the air until we all bolted out of the kitchen. Anger boiled within me as I ran down the hallway. Did I not say that she was to be kept a secret? And here she is making her presence known like a dumbass. People here could kill her. I probably would if I didn't have this damned voice in my head. Everyone came to a stop in front of the door. Smile was impatiently sitting in front of it. The sound of the piano was loudest behind this door, and when Slendy opened it, the sound grew louder. We stepped back inside the room as Smile ran up to the archway and sat there. Watching the girl play, I began to move forward. When Slendy stopped me by putting a hand on my chest, I turned to face him, and he had a slim, long finger to his mouth. Why he did that, I had no clue. Why are you stopping me? I yelled. You don't need to make a big deal out of this, he replied while taking his hand away from my chest. This is already a big deal, I said, raising my voice. Will you keep it down? He hissed. No, this is not good, and I started out but was cut off by Ben. Guys, come on, look at this, he said while gesturing us to come over. I noticed that Jack, Masky, and Hoodie were peeking behind the corner, watching intently. They didn't move, object, or ask a question, as they were too enveloped in her piano playing. Slendy and I walked over as well and began watching her play. Angel of Music, Massacre, paper faces on display. Masquerade, hide your face so that the world will never find you. She sang with the ending. She had a beautiful voice, and when I had to admit that, she giggled to herself and placed her fingers back on the piano keys, beginning a new song that I had no idea what it was or was from. Angel Beats, my soul, your beats. She's an atom lover. Nice, Ben said. I gave him a, are you kidding me, look, and he replied with a what shrug. Masky turned to look at me while he pointed to her. Who is she? He asked curiously. It's a long story, I replied while rubbing the back of my neck. If I could see his face, I'm sure he'd be glaring at me. He turned his attention back to the girl as she transitioned to another song. So she's doing a big mix of songs from Angel Beats. Takiben? No, Takaramano, Ben said, amazed. I turned to him and smacked him upside the head. Shut up, I spat. I gave him the look of death as he rubbed the back of his head. Slowly, Ariel stopped playing and relaxed on the piano bench. She was completely oblivious to the fact that we were standing there watching her. Suddenly pushed everyone aside as he went into the room. She snapped her head in his direction but gave a look of relaxed and sunny smile. What is he doing? Instead of solving the problem, he's adding to it? You play wonderfully, child, he committed. Oh, thank you. I've been practicing a lot this week, she thanked. Well, it seems to have played off, he chuckled. To add to the situation, Jack, Hoodie, and Masky walked in. Her eyes fell upon them. Ben came after a smile, and I recently followed, arms folded. She looked at Smile and smiled as he started wagging his tail. But that was soon cut short by Jack, Hoodie, and Masky, who were inching towards her. I immediately grabbed my knife and followed after them. One question remains, though. Why am I defending her? Chapter 8. Jack was the first to go towards her. As Masky and Hoodie stood closely behind, Ben looked from Slendy to me with worry and made his way over to me. I gripped my knife. White chuckled and stood right behind them in case they decided to attack. Jack leaned over her as she looked up at him with doe-looked eyes. She gripped the edge of her sweater sleeves and brought them to her chest. My heartbeat was racing as the silence continued, and if mine was like that, then hers had to be going even faster. I knew that any minute now, I would have to be fighting my best friends to protect her. What's wrong with me? Hey, I'm Jack, Jack said happily. I nearly dropped my knife at the change of atmosphere. Masky and Hoodie relaxed and stepped forward. I'm Hoodie. And I'm Masky. Nice to meet you, he said while sticking out his hand. She looked at his hand questionably, but immediately took it with a smile. I looked at Ben, who had a smirk on his face. I wanted to smack it off him so much. What's your name? Jack asked. Ariel, she replied sweetly. How'd you get here? Masky asked. Well, I began to explain. I'm asking the lovely ladies since someone didn't do it earlier. He cut me off. I'm trying to explain it now, I growled. Masky completely ignored me and turned his attention back to her. Go on, he said to her calmly. Well, Jeff saved me, she confessed. I did a mental facepalm when she said that. Mask turned to look at me, then back to her. How so? He asked. A man had shot Smile, and I heard the gunshot, and found Smile wounded in the stomach. This man appeared who was the one who shot Smile, tried to rape me. Jeff came and, killed him. The guy attempted after I had wrapped up Smile's wound, she explained. Masky turned to face me when she mentioned me. His eyebrow was probably raised when he did too. So Jeff decided to bring you here afterwards? Masky questioned. I would have left her if it weren't for Smile. He wouldn't leave her aside. I butted. I'm not asking you, Masky snapped. I gripped my knife tighter with anger, but just stood there seething with rage. Slendy, Ben were there too, but what Jeff said was right, she said, somewhat defending me. Masky turned to look at the demon dog that sat next to him. Smile just wagged his tail and kept his eyes on Ariel. Is the dog in love with her or something? Where'd they keep you? Jack asked. She didn't reply as quick as the rest. It was like she was contemplating on if she would say or not. She looked to Slendy, and he just nodded, but she didn't dare look at me. I would have been shooting daggers at her. The cellar, she replied. Jack looked at me, and I just glared at him. Now why would you lock her up like a dog? He asked me. She sure as hell isn't a guest, I spat. Slendy walked up and pushed me aside as if to take over the situation. This man was starting to get on my nerves, pushing me aside like that, like I'm shit. We were trying to decide what to do. We didn't need her being found by anyone else. For the risk of them trying to kill her, Slendy said, trying to correct my last statement. Well, you could have put her in a room, Jack stated. Yeah, she can't stay with us for a while. She can stay with us for a while, Hoodie stated. I began to object, but was stopped by Ben screaming, "Whoa!" I swung to hit him in the head again, but he ducked and snapped to look at me. Not again, he said, raising a finger. Ariel giggled at him, and Ben smiled at her delight. This is really stupid. Why the hell does she have to stay? Why can't she leave now? And for the love of God, why can I not get this freaking voice out of my head? It's like I'm arguing with myself. And so now I've come to the conclusion that I've somehow am losing my insanity. Why do you even call that? Is there a word for that? Would you like to look around the house? Masky said while looking at her. Mask, he said while taking her hand and helping her up. She nodded exactly, and I knew that he was smiling behind his stupid mask. He led her out of the room, with Smile right on her side, right on her heels, and everyone but me and Ben following. Ben turned to look at me, and he had an eyebrow raised. What? I spat. Will you calm down? Besides, I'm looking forward to her staying. Finally have a female who's not a killer or crazy to hang out with, he said while beginning to walk out of the room. She's gonna get her ass killed before she does, I said after him. He stopped and turned his head a bit so he could see me out of the corner of his eye. You and I both know you won't kill her, and God knows you'll stop anyone who tries to lay a finger on her. Earlier was an example of that. He finished before walking out of the room, out of sight. I wanted to say something, but had nothing to fight verbally with. He was right, and it pissed me off even more that he was. And the thing that scared even me was that deep down inside, somewhere, I, too, was happy she was staying.